from Premier League relegation to 100 points and 100 goals in the Championship and Champions League qualification in just 2 seasons. This is the tactic that defends as a 4-4-2 and attacks as a Brazilian box. Welcome back to the Manager's Seat. My name is Llama and today I'm going to make a style of video I don't normally dabble with as I bring you a tactics video. Now the reason I don't do tactics videos quite frankly is because I'm not very good at FM tactic. Nowhere was this more evident than in the save I stream on Twitch on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays from 1 PM UK time. I took over at Crystal Palace in my journeyman save and took a club that had finished 9th the season before and promptly got them relegated from the Premier League. A relegation that coincided with our family holiday in a week where I couldn't play FM23, so instead I started reading more about Football Manager tactics. It was here that I read the Football Manager playbook by Cleon from View from the Touchline, an incredible guide to creating Football Manager tactics that we'll link to in the video description below. In it, Cleon uses a Brazilian box formation to illustrate how he builds a tactic, and from here I started researching Brazilian boxes, unearthing articles explaining how the shape works and how players would move within the system. This led me to an article by Crusader Sar looking at the system favoured by Manuel Pellegrini, which defended as a more conventional 4-4-2 but attacked as a 4-2-2-2. Again, we'll link to the full article below for you to check out later. Having absorbed all this information, I went away and tried to design my own tactic inspired by these 2 articles. Now, I don't have the tactical acumen of Cleon or Crusader Sar or Stinger, but the tactic I designed has achieved some impressive results for a team relegated from the Premier League. It's a tactic that scores a lot of goals, hitting 105 as we won the Championship by 21 points. And in our first season back in the Premier League, only champions Manchester United notched more goals. So this is how the tactic lines up. On first sight, it looks like a conventional 4-4-2 with a double pivot in defensive midfield. But this is a tactic that can defend wide with 2 players on each flank, but attacks by overloading midfield with 6 central players and 2 attack-minded fullbacks to provide width. I opted for a sweeper-keeper because this tactic utilises a high line, so I wanted the goalkeeper in a starting position where they might be able to sweep up through balls. At centre-back, both players are central defenders on defend. The priority here for me was defenders with pace and acceleration so they could recover if the opposition plays balls in behind our high line. Good anticipation, concentration and positioning were also high on my shopping list. Full-back is the area where I've experimented with roles and duties the most. In some matches, I've utilised 2 full-backs on attack, and at other times, I've changed to wing-backs on support. As well as defensive attributes, the full-backs are my main source of crosses, so it's important they have good delivery. In central midfield, I wanted a solid base. By having players in the DM strata rather than the central midfield positions, it makes them play closer to the 2 centre-backs, and I found this helps give the centre-backs easier passing options, encouraging them to play the ball into central midfield rather than launch the ball long. The defensive midfielder is on defend, so he is the team's primary insurance policy, and I like the way he holds his position, but you could experiment with other roles, maybe like a halfback. Initially, my DM was paired with a Segundo Volante, who I had on support, which makes them a little more conservative. I didn't need them to join every attack or venture too far forward, as I have 4 other players ahead of them. But for this season, I've changed this role to a ball-winning midfielder on support to try and be a little bit more robust and menacing defensively, although I still want a player in this position that can pass a football. However, the most important players in this system are the 2 wide players, but there are no flying wingers in this tactic. In fact, none of my wide players are particularly quick, and they aren't even great crossers of the ball. Most of them are central midfielders or attacking midfielders that I've retrained in wide positions because these 2 players are the creative heartbeat of the team. My 2 regular starters have 50 assists between them in the league over 2 seasons, as well as chipping in with 23 goals, and they were just as productive in our first season back in the Premier League as they were in the Championship. Both are utilised as wide playmakers. Having defensive midfielders in the system frees up that space in the middle of the pitch for these wide players to drive into. I like two-footed players in this role, as they can take on players on the outside, but this isn't crucial. What's more important is their playmaking ability. They need excellent passing and vision, good first touch and technique, and I've tried to add playmaking player traits such as try and killer balls or switching the ball to the opposite flank. Adrian Biasoli is a great example of a player who had no experience as a wide playmaker whatsoever as we began our season in the Championship, but went on to have an outstanding campaign. But for the wide playmakers to dictate the game, they need good attackers ahead of them to target with their through balls. I favoured two advanced forwards, as each will also seek out wide attacking channels and deliver balls into the box for their strike partner. It's even often the advanced forwards that link up with the fullbacks to help provide delivery into the box, but you could experiment with alternate roles for your strikers. If you'd like a more withdrawn player that will drop deeper, maybe a false nine or a deep lying forward could be used, but the key to my forwards is off-the-ball movement. As the wide playmakers pick the ball up and drive into central areas, they're looking for those runs from the strikers in behind the opposition defence to try and create 1v1 chances for the strikers. As we qualify for the Champions League last season, our two strikers scored 40 league goals between them, with our backup striker hitting 11 goals in just 11 starts. The wide players in this tactic are the only ones that I've given additional player instructions to, with both of them instructed to mark the opponent's wingers to encourage them to track back more and offer a bit of support to the fullbacks. This is where the teamwork and work rate of players like Samir Karic have come in useful. The team instructions for this tactic are fairly simple. We start games with a balanced mentality, trying to harmonise risk and reward. We press more often, so players will roam from their positions more in search of winning the ball back, and we also utilise opposition instructions to try and shut down our opponents in central midfield. To condense the space on the pitch, we use a high defensive line, although we do drop back to a standard defensive line in Premier League games where we are up against strong opposition. To build up play, we distribute the ball from the goalkeeper to the centre-backs, and we instruct the players to counter-attack to try and utilise quick transitions. But perhaps the most important team instructions are when we have possession. Having so many players in central areas provides lots of passing options, so we use short passing, but the wide players will still go direct when they see strikers making dangerous runs. To encourage more of this, we also use pass into space, and to provide room in wide areas for fullbacks to exploit, we use a narrow width as well as overlapping on both flanks. And that's how we've taken a team relegated to the Championship to qualifying for the Champions League in just 2 seasons. And if you're curious about the numbers you saw after each player's name, well, click on this video next.